As you well know, we're at the 16th NESG Summit in Nigeria, where the focus has really been on leadership for the country, evaluating successes and failures in 50 years of independence and charting a way forward for Nigeria going forward into the next 50 years. The Minister of National Planning could be regarded as the architect for change in Nigeria, and he joins us now as our guest on Beyond Markets. Thank you very much, Minister Shamusudden Usman, for your time. Issues of leadership have come to the fore, not least because the elections are close by, but also because many Nigerians are saying in 50 years, not much has changed.
Yeah. Well, actually, we Nigerians, I think one of our greatest crimes is we tend to sort of put down ourselves too much. In 50 years, a lot has changed. Certainly not as much as has happened in some other countries. But those are countries sometimes that have had much longer years of history than Nigeria. There have been some developments, like the president was saying today. The number of schools, when I was growing up in Kano, there were only about 3 or 4 primary schools in the whole of Kano metropolitan. Today, in my local government alone, there are probably about 10. Of course, as numbers have increased, as the euphoria of the oil boom caught up with us, we unfortunately put in so much money, thinking that money was going to solve problems, and didn't pay enough attention to issues of quality, to issues of the necessary infrastructure, the necessary enabling environment that will also make the private sector become a complementary partner. And I think we are seeing the fruits of those years of real neglect and focusing more on the public sector. But otherwise, I would say, yes, we are not up to stage yet, but it's not as bad as people put.
Okay, going forward, because we're now looking at what Nigeria ought to do. Nigeria is on a growth path over 7.6%. Lots of infrastructure bonds being launched to raise money for infrastructure. But what's going to be done about the implementation? Because that's where you come in.
Well, the implementation is already started. Again, you had the president this afternoon or this morning saying that from the year 2011, the budgets of Nigeria are going to be determined by what is in the vision document. So in that sense, the most effective way of implementing an economic program is through the annual budget. But more importantly, the ministries have all bought into this. And what we are seeing is every minister now taking the document, the budget, the plan, and translating it into more actionable items. Minister of Education, Minister of Health, and so on and so forth, each developing a sector-specific implementation program. And that's how we're going to take it forward.
One of the issues that came up is consensus building. Yes, amongst the various ethnic groups, amongst the various religious groups, but more importantly, between the federal state and the autonomous regions that you call states that have their own governors. There seems to be a disconnect.
Not much. You see, the Constitution recognizes the states as autonomous units in the sense that the federal legislator cannot legislate for them. The president cannot order them to do things within the bounds of what is in their own respective area of the Constitution. But what we are doing is developing a cooperative mechanism through, again, certain agencies that have been provided by the same Constitution. The same Constitution recognizing that it is just one economy, also provided for a national economic, the NEC, National Economic Council, which is chaired by the Vice President, and each governor is a member of that. So in terms of economic policy and economic programs, it is that National Economic Council that we use as a medium for generating consensus. For example, on the vision document itself, we had not only a national vision, but derived from that, each state has now developed its own vision in conformity with the national vision. So there are mechanisms for developing consensus.
Right.
And I think we are using those mechanisms effectively.
All right, and then finally, Vision 2020. Nigeria intends to be an industrialized G20 economy within the next 10 years or so. Many people say it's overambitious because you first have to overcome all the infrastructure problems, especially the energy supply issue. How are you going to get around that?
Well, I think I need to correct you slightly. The Vision 2020 doesn't say Nigeria intends to become an industrialized economy. It says we're measuring it essentially by the GDP size.
Okay.
So we want to be a member of the
G20.
G20 as per the size of GDP. Today we are about number 39, 40 in terms of GDP size. And if we continue growing at the rates that we are growing now, and even potentially, if we fix power, for example, this economy can easily grow consistently for 20 years, double digit. It's been done by other countries, and it can be done because the potential is there. And all we need to do is really address these basic constraints like power, like other infrastructure. And I believe that it's possible, at least to attain the GDP size. Of course, it's not just about GDP.
Yeah.
It's also about enhancing education, enhancing health, getting poverty out of the way, and so on and so forth.